Chapter 22. The Ending Point. Firacha's cheek was very red from the slap. Ranchan Lapas gently pressed a cold pack on it, being as careful as she could. Firacha sat quietly and didn't say anything. She let her wife take care of her. The silence continued. Ranchan Lapas felt so guilty she didn't dare speak and break the heavy mood. The older woman's warm hand softly touched her wife's cheek. Her eyes clearly showed how sorry she was for what happened and for the pain her wife had to go through. Ranchan Lapas felt like she could never escape her mother. No matter how much she stayed away, one day they might still run into each other in this busy city, and she had no idea when her mother's reckless behavior would stop. Today the older woman pulled hair, grabbed an arm, and slapped someone. What if in the future she did something even worse? That fear stayed in her mind. Guilt, sadness, and fear all mixed together. It was one of the worst moments of the lawyer's life. Every time she saw the marks on her wife's skin, her heart tightened. Nong Nin had grown up with love and care. Why did someone have to hurt her like this? Firacha looked at her wife. She saw deep sadness in her eyes. She knew Ranchan Lapas never wanted her to face something so horrible. Since they met, her beautiful wife had never used violence, not even once. Even when they fought loudly, the worst thing she did was raise her voice. Firacha understood what her wife felt. She could feel everything. But today's incident was too painful. It was Ranchan Lapas's fault. Stopping her from acting out of anger and hurting someone back was the right thing to do. She knew that. But still, she didn't know why it hurt so much to look at her wife right now. Her wife had once done so much for her, for their relationship. Even though she couldn't completely cut her mother off, she still kept her distance and only handled things she truly needed to. Firacha never interfered. She only wanted one thing, for that old woman to stay out of their lives. She just wanted a peaceful, happy life with Ranchan Lapas. It was a simple wish, yet so hard to achieve. Today, she kept asking herself why she ended up in this situation, attacked in a restaurant in front of many people. Her hair had been pulled so hard it made her tear up. Her face, which her family always touched gently, was slapped with full force by an old woman. The tears that first came from pain now flowed even more because her heart hurt too. Loving Ranchan Lapas had brought her this kind of pain. What should she do next? Would this happen again? Would there be a second time? A third time? The questions kept repeating in her mind. "Tonight, I want to sleep at the main house," she said quietly. Ranchan Lapas froze. She looked at her with pleading eyes, but after a moment she nodded. She didn't want to be separated after such a horrible day. But when she saw the look in her wife's eyes, she understood. Maybe Firacha needed comfort from her own family. Maybe she needed to feel safe. "Let me drive you there." "Yes," Firacha answered softly. She didn't refuse. She didn't resist. Firacha let her wife take care of her. She didn't show anger or complain anymore. Her earlier anger seemed to calm down. Normally, this should have made Ranchan Lapas feel better, but it didn't. "I'm sorry, I'm really sorry," Ranchan Lapas said with a shaking voice. She lowered her head and couldn't look at her wife. She held Firacha's hand tightly. A tear fell and landed on the back of Firacha's hand. Firacha nodded with tears in her own eyes. She gently touched her wife's head, trying to comfort her. She understood how guilty Ranchan Lapas felt. Some problems were truly caused by Ranchan Lapas, but many were not her fault at all. What happened today was not her fault. She didn't know anything about it, yet she still had to suffer because the person who attacked Firacha was her mother. "I hope you won't be upset if I take legal action against your mother. I want to go all the way with the law and in other ways too." Other ways didn't need details. They both understood. "No one has ever treated me the way your mother did." "You can do whatever you need to, Nong Nin, everything," Ranchan Lapas said. In the past, harsh words were already bad enough. But now her mother had used violence. That was much worse. If Firacha wanted justice, Ranchan Lapas had no right to stop her. And she didn't want to stop her. A person who hurts others should face real punishment, so she would learn she couldn't keep doing this. The car reached the main house. When it stopped, Firacha unbuckled her seatbelt and finally spoke. "Let me go inside with you and greet your parents." "You don't have to. I want to talk to them first," Firacha said quickly. She had to stop her wife. If Ranchen Lopez went inside now, everyone would feel even more uncomfortable. The older woman paused, then nodded. If you want me to pick you up later, just call me. Okay, I'm going now. Firacha stepped out of the car, leaving a heavy, sad feeling between them. She wasn't angry, she wasn't blaming anyone, and she wasn't upset at her wife. But Ranchen Lopez could still feel that something had changed. Something didn't feel the same anymore. She couldn't believe that in such a short time, the young lawyer had become both the one asking for divorce and the one praying her wife wouldn't run out of patience and let go. If that happened, she wouldn't even know how to stop her. If either of us ever asks for a divorce, that will be the end. Just one person saying it, and their relationship would be over. After dropping her wife off, Ranchen Lopez went back to the restaurant where the incident happened. She paid for all the damages and tried to keep the situation from spreading, even though she knew it was difficult in this modern world. After she finished everything, she went straight to her mother's house. It was time to do the final thing, the only thing left she could do, to stop the woman who kept hurting her wife. She had already avoided meeting them. She had already threatened not to pay any expenses. She had already warned that she would take legal action for everything that had happened. Kinkaman knew well that her only daughter could never really go through with it. But today, Ranchen Lopez had to show her mother that she could do everything she had said. Everything Firacha had faced, today and in the past, came from Ranchen Lopez's weakness. Because she had been a wife who couldn't stand up for her partner, all the terrible things began from her softness. You finally showed your face, huh? Kinkaman shouted the moment she saw her troublesome daughter step into the house after almost 6 months. I thought you'd only come back when it's time for my cremation flowers. The sarcastic words kept pouring out. Ranchen Lopez stood still, politely raising her hands to greet her father, who was standing nearby. Then she turned to the woman who never stopped talking. The respect she usually had disappeared in a second. For the cremation, I wouldn't even want to come, she said. Kinkaman's eyes widened in fury. So ungrateful. Did that woman turn you into this? Today she should have been slapped many more times, slapped till her face swells. Hearing her mother talk about using violence again, without guilt, without remorse, made Ranchen Lopez's anger explode. Her father, Fongpat, grew worried. He had never seen his daughter this furious. Suddenly, the unexpected happened. The gentle lawyer, who rarely spoke loudly, rushed at her mother and pointed directly at her face. Then she shouted, cursing in a way no one had ever heard from her. Your disgusting behavior never changes. You're old and almost dying, yet you still go around hitting people like someone with no brain. Ranchen, her mother shouted in shock. Even she felt a bit afraid, because Ranchen Lopez looked terrifying at that moment. Still, she tried to shout back, her voice cracking. Before Kinkaman could recover, Ranchen Lopez continued yelling, wanting to cut the mother-daughter bond right here, right now. She said it all, how low her mother was, how nasty her words were, how she couldn't think of anything good, how she behaved like someone who had never been taught right and wrong. It wasn't only Kinkaman who froze. Fongpat also stepped back in shock. The entire time she screamed, Ranchen Lopez was crying. Her heart was in pieces, completely broken. The person who carried all the weight alone finally exploded. When her mother tried to step closer, Ranchen Lopez pushed her away, making her stumble. She did not hurt her physically, but she no longer protected her either. From now on, you won't get a single bot from me. We don't need to be involved anymore. Don't contact me even if you're sick or dying. Kinkaman's mouth fell open. I am your mother, she yelled, shocked that her daughter dared speak this way to the one who had always cared and devoted herself. Her ungrateful daughter must have lost her mind for sure. Nongnin's family won't let someone like you hurt their daughter again, Ranchen Lopez said, her voice softer but filled with warning. She wiped her tears quickly. Be careful. The only reason you've gotten away with everything until now is because they respected me. After this, no one has to respect anyone anymore. Are you going to let your wife bully your own mother? Who's bullying who? Ranchen Lopez couldn't hold back anymore. She shouted right into her mother's face, making the older woman flinch. Fongpat quickly rushed in to separate them. He was terrified that Ranchen Lapas might lose control and accidentally do something she never intended, even though she had never behaved violently in her entire life. He pulled his daughter into his arms, holding her tightly. She was shaking, sobbing, and crying nonstop. The sight was heartbreaking. When he looked over at his wife, she was crying too. But Kinkaman's tears came from anger and fear, not from pain, not from emotional hurt like their daughter's. The Fatcheraticorn family was all gathered together. Their little princess, Firacha, was in her mother's arms, while her father gently patted her head to comfort her. Her older brother sat nearby, watching her with deep concern. She kept crying nonstop. There was a bruise on her face from being attacked. Kinkaman's cruel behavior had left obvious marks, and every time the family saw it, their anger rose higher. It was hard for Firacha to explain everything that happened today, but everyone could already understand. When she finally finished speaking, she hugged her mother tightly. She let herself fall apart and allowed her family to take care of her. There was no safer place than this house, just her parents and her older brother. "Why don't you go rest first, dear? Tomorrow we'll talk about what to do next," Kai suggested gently. She was extremely worried about her youngest daughter, both physically and emotionally. She never imagined that her daughter's married life would bring this much pain. "Try to relax and rest. I'll handle everything the way you want," Thanachai promised softly as he rubbed his daughter's head. He had been furious from the moment he saw her face. The more he learned, the angrier he became. He didn't care anymore if the methods were clean or dirty. Kinkaman would have to pay for what she did. "Pinai, don't blame Piranchan, please," Firacha whispered. Her brother, Fakfakin, answered immediately. "Mom and Dad want to blame her too. It's not just me." His handsome face was tense with anger. "Please don't blame her," Firacha begged softly. "We won't, dear. We won't," her gentle mother replied. Kai rubbed her daughter's back with her wrinkled hand, trying to soothe her. But then, the room fell silent when the head of the family spoke firmly. "I want Nong Nin to divorce Ranchen." "Dear," Kai tried to stop her husband. Fakfakin stayed quiet, but inside he agreed completely. He wanted his sister free from all these problems. Ranchen Lapas had failed to protect her wife. Because of that failure, Firacha was hurt, humiliated, and terrified. If her wife couldn't protect her, then the family would protect her instead. "This is the only thing I want to ask," Thanachai said. "Nong Nin is precious to all of us. We raised you with love. I can't bear to see you treated like this." "I'm sorry for making you worry, all of you," Firacha said through broken sobs. "You didn't do anything wrong. Don't apologize," Fakfakin comforted her. "I won't force you," her father added. "Take your time and think about what you want. We still have ways to make sure Kinkaman doesn't do this again. Whatever it takes, I'll do it." He didn't care whose mother she was. Even if Ranchen Lapas begged him to forgive her, Thanachai would never agree. "It depends on you, Nong Nin. You decide." Firacha was the only one who had the right to choose what to do with Kinkaman. "Go rest now, dear. You've cried yourself out already." "Yes, Mom." "I'll take you up to your room," Kai said, giving a look to her husband and son, telling them they'd talk again later. Both men nodded. After finishing her personal things, Firacha saw her mother still waiting. The older woman, always gentle, opened her arms for her daughter, her most precious treasure. Firacha, wounded in body and heart, walked into the warm embrace. "Let me put something cool on your face." "Okay." Firacha moved from her mother's arms and sat on the bed. Kai went to get ice wrapped in a small cloth, sat beside her, and gently pressed the cold pack to her bruised cheek. She looked at her daughter with deep compassion, anger still burning inside her. Silence filled the room. Firacha kept thinking about everything that happened. Her mother, meanwhile, was thinking only about how she would deal with the woman who hurt her child. But then, suddenly, Firacha spoke, completely out of nowhere. The moment Kai heard her words, her eyes stung with tears. She felt nothing but overwhelming sorrow for her daughter. "Ever since it happened, I feel terrible every time I look at P. Ranchin. Firacha finally said what she had kept inside. I know P. Ranchin didn't want this. I know it wasn't her fault. But I still feel so hurt. I don't want to look at her anymore. Her feelings were all mixed, she understood her, but she was also sad and angry. Everything was tangled together. When no one interferes, you and P. Ranchin are happy together, right? Her mother asked. Yes, Firacha said softly. It felt like a dream, like we were newly married again. She gave a small smile. But it was only a dream. I still had to wake up and face the truth. If your father and Peni handle things properly, everything will calm down. You can still be happy with Ranchin, her mother said. They both knew who needed to be handled and what that meant. As long as Ranchin lets us deal with the troublemaker. She agrees, Firacha whispered. She will agree to anything. She paused. But I don't think she can really be happy if you and Dad get into trouble because of it. I understand, dear, Kai said gently. It feels like, no matter what we do, P. Ranchin and I can't be happy together, Firacha said, blinking fast to stop her tears. Maybe we should stop here. Everyone knew how much she loved Ranchin Lapas. So when she said this, when she talked about ending it, her mother was shocked. She never expected to hear it from her daughter. Are you sure, dear? I'm so tired, Firacha cried. After what happened today, I don't want to look at her anymore. Not at all. She broke down in tears and threw herself into her mother's arms. Not wanting to look at the face she once loved so much, that pain was unbearable. After the chaos ended, Firacha knew right away that she didn't want to stand beside Ranchin Lapas anymore. Loving Ranchin Lapas hurt too much. It was too heavy. She didn't want to fight anymore. She just wanted everything to end.